Hey guys, welcome to August Pine Workshop, and today I'm going to show you how to turn this random orbital sander into a small disc sander. Here's how I made it. At the start of each video, I like to share a Bible verse. Today's verse is from James chapter 1. To start off my build, I used a locking contour gauge from Home Depot to find the shape of my sander. This is a great, super easy to use tool that costs less than $10 that I highly recommend. Next, I traced out that shape onto a piece of scrap plywood that I used to build my jig, and then I went ahead and cut it out with a jigsaw. I ended up having to make a few extra cuts, but I was finally able to get the right shape with the jigsaw. And once I slid my sander into place, it fit perfectly. So next it was time to build the spacers that were going to go below the sander. And these little pieces are just to keep the sander square and also to keep the sanding disc from running into the jig. Next, I cut out a few more pieces, including a small table for the front of the jig and also some spacers that were going to help keep the sander in place. And next it was time to put in a piece of scrap 2x4 that I used as the back fence to hold the sander into place. I ended up actually tearing this one out later, as you'll see, because I really didn't like how it looked. But I nailed it into place, and that was how I had it at the beginning of the build. And you'll see throughout the video that I'm making a lot of small adjustments, and that's because this wasn't really a build with a ton of exact measurements, but really more so just moving everything into place until it fit right. After making those adjustments, I started gluing everything down into place. And you can see here where I tore out that piece of 2x4 and ended up replacing it with a piece of plywood. I think it ended up looking a lot better. And you can see I just continued my process of checking the fit of everything, making small adjustments, marking it down, and then finally gluing it into place. I did this a few more times with some of my small pieces, and then I used the square to make sure everything was nice and square. As long as everything was lining up, I went ahead and glued it down, and it turned out great. As you can see, I built this project entirely from scrap pieces of wood that I had laying around my workshop. So this is a great way to use up some of those leftover pieces and make a really easy and useful jig from it. Once all the pieces finished drying, I went ahead and lined up my fence just to get an idea of the right height. So I played around with it a little bit, and I did notice one issue where the sanding disc was actually digging into the base of the plywood. But I made some small adjustments and I was good to go. Just to keep things simple, I went ahead and used 3/4 inch brad nails for this part. So I nailed my 2x4 section into place, and then I flipped it over and I nailed the plywood fence on top. And here it is, the final jig. It's definitely not the prettiest, but it works great for sanding small pieces. I also left a piece on the side and on the back that's going to serve as a nice clamping face for my jig. And the best part about this build is it was built entirely with scrap wood, so you can build it for next to nothing, and all it'll cost you is some time. Overall, I was really happy with how this design came out. It works great for what I need it for, which is mostly going to be sanding some small pieces and not having to try to hold my sander in place while I do it. I did see a few other builds that had similar designs, but the one thing that I did differently is I didn't have my sander completely clamped down, which I think saves some of the time and effort of having to clamp down and unclamp every single time you want to use your sander outside of the jig. As you can see, I did this project with the DeWalt random orbital sander, but I'm pretty confident that you could build a very similar design for almost any brand of sander. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next build.